The iron chains sang as they dragged across cobblestone, a discordant melody that silenced the morning market chatter. Sarah pressed herself against the baker's stall, her gloved hands clutching her worn cloak tighter around her body. She shouldn't be here. The township of Greymont held its condemned auctions on the first day of each month, and anyone with sense stayed home behind locked doors. But Sarah needed flour. Her younger sister Mira had been sick for 3 days, and the fever showed no signs of breaking. The broth required bread, and bread required flour, and so here she stood, trying to remain invisible among the gathering crowd. "Make way for the Alpha King's justice!" Guard Captain Torvin's voice boomed across the square, and Sarah's stomach twisted. She'd heard the rumors, of course. Everyone had. The new Alpha King, Cale Thorne, had taken the throne 6 months ago after his father's mysterious death, and his reign had been marked by brutal efficiency. Traitors, thieves, and rebels all faced the same fate. Public humiliation followed by servitude or death. The crowd thickened around the central platform, a raised dais of dark wood that had seen too much blood over the years. Sarah tried to push toward the baker's back entrance, but the press of bodies held her fast. She was trapped, forced to witness whatever spectacle was about to unfold. Then she saw him. The prisoner stumbled onto the platform, his wrists bound with silver chains that gleamed wickedly in the morning sun. He was massive, easily the largest man Sarah had ever seen, with shoulders that strained against the remnants of what had once been fine clothing. Dark hair fell across his face, matted with dried blood, and even from her position at the crowd's edge, Sarah could see the evidence of recent torture. Bruises mottled his bronze skin, and he moved with the careful precision of someone trying to hide broken ribs. But it was his eyes that stopped her breath. Even beneath the curtain of dark hair, even dulled by obvious pain, they burned with molten amber, the unmistakable mark of alpha blood. This wasn't just any prisoner. This was someone important, someone powerful, brought low and displayed like a common criminal. "Behold!" Captain Torvin gestured dramatically toward the prisoner. Cale Thorne, self-proclaimed Alpha King of the Northern Territories, found guilty of murdering the true king and usurping the throne through dark magic. The crowd's murmur turned ugly, excited. Sarah felt her pulse quicken. This was the Alpha King, but the rumors said he was safely ensconced in the Northern Palace, ruling with an iron fist. How could he be here, chained and beaten, about to be sold like livestock? "The Council of Five has spoken," Torvin continued, his smile predatory. "This false king is to be stripped of his title, his lands, and his freedom. He will be sold to the highest bidder for a term of no less than 10 years of servitude. All proceeds will fund the true government's restoration." Sarah's mind raced. Something was wrong here. The Council of Five had been dissolved decades ago, replaced by the unified monarchy. And if this truly was Cale Thorne, why wasn't he fighting? Why wasn't he using his alpha power to break free? Her gaze caught on the silver chains again, and understanding dawned. Silver didn't just bind shifters, it suppressed their abilities entirely. Whoever had captured him had come prepared. "We'll start the bidding at 50 gold crowns," Torvin announced. "Who wants to own a king?" Laughter rippled through the crowd, cruel and sharp. Sarah felt sick. Whatever this man had or hadn't done, this was barbaric. No one deserved to be paraded like this, stripped of dignity and humanity. The prisoner's head lifted slightly, and for one impossible moment, his topaz gaze found hers through the crowd. The contact lasted only a heartbeat, but Sarah felt it like a physical blow, a jolt of recognition that made no sense. She didn't know this man. She'd never seen him before in her life. 40 gold! Someone shouted from the back. 45! Another voice called. Sarah watched the prisoner's jaw tighten, the only sign of emotion on his carefully blank face. He was trying to maintain some shred of pride, she realized, trying not to break in front of these people who wanted nothing more than to see him destroyed. 50 gold crowns! A wealthy merchant near the front raised his hand, his face flushed with excitement. I could use a strong back in my quarries. 10 years of labor will more than repay the investment. The prisoner's eyes closed briefly, and Sarah saw him sway almost imperceptibly. He was at the end of his strength. Whatever injuries he'd sustained, they were serious. 50 going once! Torvin's voice rang out gleefully. Sarah's hands clenched in her cloak. This was wrong. Everything about this was wrong. But what could she do? She was nobody. A cursed woman living on the edges of society with her sick sister and her shameful secret. She had nothing to offer, no power to wield. The prisoner's golden eyes opened again, finding hers once more, and in that gaze, she saw something that struck her to the core. Not pleading, not desperation, but a kind of weary acceptance. He expected no help, expected no mercy. He'd already surrendered to whatever fate awaited him. 50 going twice. Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs. She thought of Mira, alone at home, waiting for her sister to return with medicine and food. She thought of their tiny cottage on the outskirts of town, barely standing, all they had in the world. She thought of the 3 silver coins tucked into her boot. Everything they owned, saved over months of careful rationing. 3 silver coins wouldn't even register in a bid counted in gold. But as she watched the merchant's triumphant smile, watched the prisoner's shoulders bow in defeat, something fierce and reckless rose in Sarah's chest. Wait! Her voice cracked across the square, surprising even herself. Every head turned. The crowd parted slightly, revealing her position at the edge, and Sarah felt hundreds of eyes fix on her with varying degrees of surprise and suspicion. Captain Torvin's expression shifted from confusion to recognition, and his smile turned cold. Well, the hollow girl wants to bid? His voice dripped with mockery. Tell me, Sarah, do you even have copper to your name? Heat flooded her cheeks, but she forced herself to step forward, keeping her gloved hands carefully hidden in her cloak. I have 3 silver coins. The crowd erupted in laughter. 3 silver against 50 gold was an insult, a joke, but Sarah pushed forward until she stood at the base of the platform, tilting her head back to meet Torvin's amused stare. 3 silver coins and a healer's knowledge, she said more firmly. I can tend his wounds, keep him alive and working. That must be worth something to whoever buys him. Torvin's amusement faded slightly, replaced by calculation. You want to purchase him yourself? No. Sarah's mind worked frantically. I want to offer my services as part of the merchant's bid. Surely a living, healthy slave is worth more than a dead one. She hated the word, slave, but it was the only language these people understood. The merchant near the front frowned, clearly considering. The prisoner on the platform had gone absolutely still, his burning gaze fixed on Sarah with an intensity that made her skin prickle. I'll do it, the merchant said slowly. 45 gold and the girl's healing services. But she works for me too. Binding contract for the full 10 years. Horror shot through Sarah. 10 years of servitude. 10 years away from Mira. No, another voice called out. 40 gold and I'll take them both. The king for labor. The girl for... The speaker, a heavy-set man with cruel eyes, let the implication hang. Sarah's blood turned to ice. She'd made a terrible mistake. In trying to help, she'd only painted a target on her own back. Interesting development, Torvin mused, clearly enjoying himself. Perhaps we should auction the hollow girl as well. I'm sure many here would pay good coin for someone so untouchable. His emphasis on the last word made several people laugh knowingly. The prisoner moved then, a slight shift that drew Sarah's attention back to him. His golden eyes burned into hers, and though he said nothing, she could read the message clearly. Run. But before she could move, before she could flee back into the crowd and disappear, Captain Torvin raised his hand for silence. Actually, I have a better idea, he said slowly, his smile turning vicious. Let's test the Hollow Girl's healing claims, shall we? If she can touch the prisoner without collapsing, I'll sell him to her for 3 silver coins. Consider it entertainment. The crowd roared its approval, sensing drama. Sarah felt the world tilt. Her curse. The thing she'd hidden for 5 years, the reason she wore gloves even in summer, the shame that kept her isolated from all human contact, was about to be exposed to everyone. Come now, Sarah, Torvin beckoned. Show us all how you'll tend to your patient. Touch him. Just once. Every eye fixed on her. The prisoner's amber stare held a mixture of confusion and warning. He didn't understand what was happening, but he recognized a trap when he saw one. Sarah's hands trembled as she reached for her glove. She had 2 choices: walk away and live with the shame, or try and face the inevitable collapse that came with every human contact. But as she looked up at the prisoner, this false king, this broken man who expected no kindness, she made her decision. She pulled off her right glove. The crowd inhaled collectively. They knew what was coming. They'd all heard the stories of the Hollow Girl who fainted at the slightest touch, who lived apart from society, whose curse marked her as fundamentally wrong. Sarah climbed the platform steps on shaking legs. Captain Torvin backed away, giving her space, his expression eager. The prisoner watched her approach with those burning golden eyes, and she could see tension coiling in his battered body. He was preparing to catch her when she fell. I'm sorry, she whispered, too quiet for anyone else to hear. I was trying to help. His head tilted slightly, the first real reaction he'd shown. Up close, she could see the full extent of his injuries, the swelling around his left eye, the cut across his cheekbone that needed stitching, the way he held his torso that suggested at least 3 broken ribs. But she could also see something else. A fierce, undaunted spirit that torture and humiliation hadn't broken. Sarah reached out with her bare hand. The moment her fingertips brushed his forearm, the world exploded. Not with the usual cold darkness that claimed her with every touch. Not with the hollow emptiness that gave her curse its name. Instead, Sarah felt warmth. Impossible, blazing warmth that raced up her arm and flooded her entire body. Colors brightened. Sounds sharpened. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears, but not with the frantic rhythm that preceded a faint. This was something else entirely. Power. The prisoner gasped, his eyes widening. Where her skin met his, light flickered, soft and golden, visible even in the bright morning sun. The silver chains binding his wrists began to glow, growing hot, and with a sound like breaking crystal, they shattered. The crowd screamed. Captain Torvin stumbled backward, his hand flying to the sword at his hip. Witch! She's breaking the binding! But Sarah couldn't look away from the prisoner. His topaz eyes had begun to glow, not with alpha power, but with something far older. Recognition flared in those burning depths, followed swiftly by shock, and something that looked almost like wonder. How? He breathed, the first word she'd heard him speak. His voice was rough from disuse, deep and resonant. How are you touching me? I don't know, Sarah whispered back, equally stunned. Her hand remained pressed against his arm, and the warmth continued to flow between them. Not painful, not draining, but vital and alive. For the first time in 5 years, human contact didn't hurt. Then the prisoner did something that stopped her heart. He raised his now free hand and cupped her face, his palm rough and gentle against her cheek. The touch should have dropped her like a stone, should have sent her spiraling into the cold void that had claimed her countless times before. Instead, Sarah felt more alive than she had since the curse began. Impossible, the prisoner murmured. his thumb brushing her cheekbone with infinite care. "You're— Seize them both!" Captain Torven's bellow shattered the moment. Guards poured onto the platform from all sides. The prisoner's hand dropped from Sarah's face as he spun to put himself between her and the approaching soldiers, moving despite his injuries with fluid grace. The amber glow in his eyes intensified, and Sarah realized with a start that breaking the silver chains had restored his shifter abilities. "Run," he commanded, not looking back at her. "Now." But Sarah's legs wouldn't obey. She stood frozen as guards surrounded them, their silver-tipped spears raised, their faces masks of fear and aggression. The crowd had devolved into chaos, people screaming and shoving, trying to flee the square before whatever was about to happen next. One guard lunged. The prisoner caught the spear shaft with one hand and snapped it like kindling, moving with the deadly precision of a trained warrior. But there were too many, and he was wounded, and a spear point grazed Sarah's arm. The prisoner roared, the sound inhuman and terrifying. But before he could act, before the guards could strike again, Sarah felt it. The curse's familiar cold touch, waiting in the wings. The guard's spear had touched her skin, bare skin, and now the darkness was coming. Her vision grayed at the edges, her legs buckled. The last thing she saw before the void claimed her was the prisoner's face, twisted with fury and something that looked like fear, as he caught her falling body against his chest. Then darkness, complete and absolute. Consciousness returned in fragments. The creak of wood, the gentle sway of movement, the scent of pine and blood. Sarah's eyes fluttered open to find herself staring at rough-hewn ceiling beams passing overhead in a steady rhythm. She was being carried, held against a broad chest, and through tattered fabric she could feel the warmth of skin, bare skin. Sarah gasped and tried to jerk away, but strong arms tightened around her. "Be still," rumbled a deep voice above her head. "You're safe." The prisoner. She was being carried by the prisoner, held against him with no gloves, no barriers, and she wasn't fainting. "How long?" she managed, her voice hoarse. "An hour, perhaps. You collapsed in the square." The prisoner, Kyle, Torvin had called him, adjusted his grip slightly, and Sarah realized they were moving through dense forest. "I took you when the chaos began. The broken chains in your collapse created enough confusion that escape was possible." "Where are you taking me?" "Away from Greymont. Away from Torven and his mock trial." Kale's voice turned bitter. "Though I suspect we're both fugitives now." Sarah felt guilt twist in her stomach. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I was only trying to help." "Why?" The single word held genuine curiosity. Kale's gaze dropped to her face, searching. "You don't know me. You had no reason to risk yourself." Sarah didn't have a good answer. "It was wrong," she said quietly. "What they were doing to you. It was wrong." Something flickered in Kale's golden eyes. Surprise, perhaps, or recognition. His arms tightened around her fractionally, and Sarah felt that strange warmth pulse between them again. "What is your name?" he asked. "Your real name, not the cruel epithet they've given you." "Sarah. Sarah Ashwood." "Sarah." He repeated it like he was tasting the word. "I am Kale Thorne, and I am exactly what Torvin claimed, the Alpha King of the Northern Territories. Though whether I still hold that title after being captured and humiliated remains to be seen." "So it's true? You're really the Alpha King?" "I was." Kale's expression darkened. 6 days ago, I was ambushed by my own guards, men I trusted. They used silver chains and Wolf's Bane to suppress my abilities, then brought me to Greymont to be publicly disgraced. "But they sold you instead of killing you," Sarah said slowly. "Why?" "Because death makes martyrs. Far better to humiliate me, strip me of dignity, and let me disappear into slavery." Kale's jaw clenched. "Or that was the plan, before you interfered. The path widened into a clearing beside a stream. Kale finally set Sarah on her feet, releasing her carefully as if expecting her to collapse. But she remained steady, and they both stared at her bare hand, still exposed, still touching his arm, with mutual bewilderment. "This shouldn't be possible," Sarah whispered. She pressed her palm flat against his forearm, testing, and felt only warmth and the steady thrum of his pulse. "I haven't been able to touch anyone in 5 years." Kyle caught her wrist gently, turning her hand over to examine it. His touch sent shivers racing up her arm, but not the cold darkness of the curse. "Tell me about your curse," he said quietly. "Everything." Sarah swallowed hard. She'd never spoken about it fully. "It started 5 years ago. I was 18. There was a woman who came through Greymont, a traveler, old and strange. She came to our cottage asking for shelter, and my mother turned her away. Said we couldn't afford to feed another mouth." Kale's thumb traced circles on the inside of her wrist, the touch gentle and grounding. "The woman cursed me before she left," Sarah continued. "She said I would know the hollow emptiness of a life without touch, without connection, that I would understand what it meant to be turned away from warmth." Tears pricked her eyes. "The next morning, my mother tried to wake me. The moment she touched my shoulder, I collapsed. It happened again with the doctor, and again with Mira. Every touch, no matter how brief, sent me into darkness." "How long do you remain unconscious?" Kyle asked. "It varies. Sometimes minutes, sometimes hours. The more contact, the longer I'm out." Sarah met his eyes. "But with you, it's different. Your touch doesn't hurt at all." "It feels right," Kale finished quietly. His free hand rose to cup her face again, and Sarah's breath hitched, like finding something you didn't know you'd lost. The moment stretched between them, charged with something neither understood. Then Kale hissed in pain and staggered, his hand dropping as he pressed it to his ribs. "You're still hurt," Sarah said. "You've been carrying me for an hour with broken ribs. Sit down, please." Kale protested but eventually sat on a fallen log. Sarah knelt before him and reached for his tattered shirt. "May I?" After a moment, he nodded. Sarah carefully lifted the fabric, peeling it away from wounds that had clotted to the material. "I'm sorry," she murmured. "This would be easier if I had proper supplies." "Sarah." Kale's hand caught hers. "Why did you offer to heal me in the square?" "Because someone should have helped you. Because kindness shouldn't depend on whether we'll benefit from it." Something profound shifted in Kale's expression. "Do you know how rare that is? True kindness with no expectation of reward?" "In my experience, it's the only kindness worth offering," Sarah replied. She examined his injuries, at least 3 cracked ribs, deep lacerations, evidence of systematic torture. "You need proper rest and binding." "Then it's fortunate we're heading somewhere with both." Kale caught her wrist again. "There's a safe house half a day's walk from here. People loyal to the true throne. We'll be safe there, and my alpha healing will handle the worst by morning." "We." Sarah's eyes widened. "You're taking me with you? Did you think I'd leave you?" Kale's expression turned fierce. "You saved me, Sarah. Freed me from chains no one else could break. You're under my protection now." "I have a sister," Sarah protested. "Mira, she's sick. I need to get back." "Is she in Greymont?" "Our cottage is on the outskirts." "Then she's in danger." Kyle's voice gentled. "Torvin will use her to draw you out. But I can send people to retrieve her. You have my word." Sarah wanted to argue but knew he was right. "How do I know I can trust you?" Kale's smile was tired but genuine. "You can't. But your curse stops when I touch you. That means something." His hand tightened on her wrist. "And I'm asking you to trust me anyway." After a long moment, Sarah nodded. "All right, I'll come with you. But you will send someone for Mira?" "Before nightfall," Kale promised. "I swear it on my crown." They walked through the deepening forest, Kale's hand wrapped around her wrist, maintaining contact deliberately. An hour into their journey, Kale suddenly went rigid. "We're not alone," he breathed. Sarah held still, straining to hear. Then, barely audible, the snap of a twig. "Show yourself," Kale called out. From behind an oak, Captain Torvin emerged, flanked by guards with silver-tipped spears, and held firmly in his grasp, her face bruised and terrified, was Mira. "Looking for something, Your Majesty?" Torvin's smile was vicious. Sarah's world narrowed to her sister's frightened face. "Let her go. She's done nothing wrong." "Neither had you, until you chose to aid a traitor," Torvin replied, shaking Mira roughly. "Surrender, Kale, or the girl dies." Kale's hand was iron around Sarah's wrist. Through their touch she felt his rage, his calculation of impossible odds. They were outnumbered, surrounded. "There has to be another way," Sarah said desperately. The moment her hand brushed Kale's arm more fully, warmth flooded through her, stronger than before, almost burning. Where their skin touched, power was building. "The curse," she whispered, pieces clicking together. "It's not just that I can touch you. We're bonded," Kale finished, his voice filled with wonder and dawning horror. "Sarah, we're mate bonded." The words hung like thunder. Mate bonds were sacred among shifters, connections so deep that bonded pairs could share power, thoughts, life force itself. "That's impossible," Torvin said, but uncertainty crept into his voice. "Humans can't bond with shifters." "Then explain this," Kale interrupted. He pulled Sarah fully against him, and the power between them exploded outward in a wave of golden light. Sarah felt it rushing through her veins, Kale's alpha strength, his speed, his heightened senses. But flowing the opposite direction was something else. Her healing gift magnified, no longer limited to closing wounds but capable of so much more. She could feel Kale's emotions as if they were her own. The fierce protectiveness toward her and Mira, the rage at Torvin's threats, the deep shame of having been captured. But beneath all that was something that made her chest tight, a bone-deep certainty that she was his, and he was hers. Guards stumbled backward, shielding their eyes. Even Torvin released Mira, his face slack with shock. Sarah extended her free hand toward Mira. "Come to me," she commanded, and her voice carried weight it had never held before. Mira obeyed instantly, running to her sister's side. The moment Sarah's hand touched Mira's arm, she felt the illness lingering in her sister's lungs. Her healing gift, amplified by Kale's power, poured into Mira like golden light. In seconds, the fever broke completely. Color returned to Mira's cheeks. "Guards!" Torvin's voice cracked. "Stop them!" But as the guards moved forward, Kyle stepped in front of both sisters. The amber glow in his eyes had become an inferno. Power rolled off, him in waves. Alpha dominance mixed with the bond's energy, creating pressure that drove the guards to their knees. "You made a mistake, Torvin," Kyle said. "You gave me my mate, and now there's nothing you can do to stop what's coming." "We're leaving," Sarah said calmly. "Try to follow us and you'll regret it." They ran. Kale moved with inhuman speed, pulling both sisters through the forest. The bond between them pulsed with each heartbeat, feeding Sarah his strength, his endurance. They ran until Greymont was far behind, until they reached a cave hidden behind a waterfall. Mira collapsed immediately, exhausted, but Sarah remained standing, her hand locked in Kale's. "What are we?" she asked. Kale turned to face her fully, both hands coming up to cup her face. "You're my mate. My true mate, bonded by fate or magic or whatever force governs such things. I felt it the moment you touched me. But the curse was protection," Kale said softly, "to keep you isolated until your true mate found you. Because a bond this strong between human and alpha, People would have wanted to use it, control it, destroy it before it could form. Sarah's mind spun. So all this time, I've been waiting for you? And I've been waiting for you, without knowing it. Kale's smile was tired but genuine. We'll learn together what this means. His expression grew serious. But understand what this means. Torvin will tell the council about our bond. They'll see you as a weapon or a weakness. Your life, Mira's life, both are in danger. Because of us, Sarah corrected. Whatever comes next, we face together. The kiss was inevitable. Kale's lips found hers with desperate gentleness, and Sarah felt the bond between them flare like a star going nova. This wasn't the cold darkness of her curse or the painful isolation of 5 years alone. This was warmth and connection and belonging. This was home. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Kale said, "We need to complete the bond, a claiming bite that will tie our lives together permanently. You'll gain access to more of my strength, my healing, and my lifespan. But it will make you a target." "Will it hurt?" Sarah asked. "Yes," Kale said honestly, "but after, you'll be mine in ways that no law can undo. And I'll be yours, just as completely." Sarah thought about 5 years of loneliness, about this man who'd protected her despite his own pain. Do it. Mark me. Make me yours. The claiming bite was both agony and ecstasy. Kyle's teeth sank into the junction of her neck and shoulder, and Sarah felt her entire world reshape around the sensation. Pain blazed through her, but beneath it ran currents of pleasure so intense she couldn't breathe. Then the bond snapped fully into place, and for one infinite moment, their consciousnesses merged. She was him, felt his love for her, his shame at his capture, his fierce determination. He was her, felt her years of isolation, her desperate love for Mira, her hope that someday the curse would break. When Kale released her, Sarah swayed in his arms. The cave had grown brighter. Her vision had sharpened. She could hear Mira's heartbeat, smell approaching rain. "What happened to me?" she whispered. "The bond," Kale said softly. "You're still human, but you're also mine now, connected to my alpha power." His hand found hers, threading their fingers together. "How do you feel?" Sarah took inventory. The exhaustion from the curse was gone, replaced by vitality that sang through her veins. "I feel like I've been walking through fog my entire life, and someone just cleared it away." Kyle smiled, transforming his face. "Good, because tomorrow we start fighting back. We're going to find my allies, expose the council's lies, and reclaim the northern territories." Sarah believed him. The curse that had isolated her for 5 years had actually been a gift in disguise, keeping her safe until this moment, until her compassion would forge a bond powerful enough to shake kingdoms. Tomorrow would bring war and danger, but tonight, they held each other and dreamed of the kingdom they would build together. The safe house was an ancient fortress built into the mountainside, its stone walls weathered by centuries but still formidable. Guards materialized as they approached, dropping to one knee when they recognized Kale. "Your Majesty," the lead guard breathed. "We thought you were dead." "Nearly was," Kale replied, his hand never leaving Sarah's waist. "Gather the council." They were escorted to a circular chamber where 7 alphas sat around a massive oak table, pack leaders, the most powerful shifters in the northern territories. They rose as Kale entered, expressions cycling through shock, relief, and confusion. "Kale," a silver-haired woman said, "how did you escape?" "I didn't escape. I was freed. By her." Kale gestured to Sarah. "Sarah Ashwood is my mate, my true mate, bonded by forces older than any of us understand." The silence that followed was deafening. The silver-haired woman recovered first. "A human mate bond? Kale, such things are legend. They haven't occurred in 500 years." If this is true, another alpha said, her dark eyes studying Sarah, it could change everything. Or it could be a trick, a male alpha named Aldrich said flatly. What if this woman is Torvin's plant? Kale's hand tightened on Sarah's. Careful, Aldrich. You're speaking of my mate. I'm speaking of our kingdom's security, Aldrich countered. You were captured through betrayal. How do we know this isn't more of the same? Because I felt the bond snap into place, Kale said coldly. Because her touch revives me from her own curse, because I can feel her emotions as clearly as my own. Show us, the silver-haired woman said. Your neck. The claiming mark. Sarah swept her hair aside. The bite mark was still visible, 2 crescent moons that would fade to a silver scar. Around the table, sharp intakes of breath. It's genuine, someone whispered. Which means the old stories are true, another alpha said slowly. When human and shifter bond, their gifts merge. What gift did you carry, Miss Ashwood? I'm a healer, Sarah said quietly. Small things, fevers, wounds. And now? Kale asked. Sarah closed her eyes, reaching for her gift. It blazed like a bonfire, vast and barely contained. Now I think I could heal almost anything. Wounds that should be fatal. Poisons. Maybe even death itself. The council won't just want you dead, the silver-haired woman said gravely. They'll want to study you, replicate your power. Mira spoke up from her corner. Then they'll have to go through me first. Despite the tension, several alphas smiled. We need proof of the council's crimes, Aldrich said. Evidence of the murder plot against your father. The old woman who cursed me, Sarah said suddenly. She said something strange, about understanding the price of turning away those who seek shelter. What if she was connected to the council? What if she cursed me to protect me until the bond could form? Elder Rhiannon, one of the alphas breathed, the council's seer. I thought she died. If Sarah's right, Rhiannon might testify, Kale said. A knock interrupted them. A guard entered. Your Majesty, there's a woman at the gates. Old, bone-thin, with a scar down her cheek. She says she'll only speak to the girl who broke the silver chains. The courtyard was torchlit when they emerged. In the center stood the woman from Sarah's memories. Ancient, but unmistakably the one who'd cursed her. Sarah Ashwood, Rhiannon said, you've grown into your destiny nicely. You cursed my mate, Kale said coldly. I saved your mate, Rhiannon corrected. From my own allies, from the council's machinations, from a fate worse than isolation. Do you think it was coincidence that brought you to Greymont's auction block exactly where Sarah would see you? You orchestrated this, Sarah whispered. All of it. I saw it, Rhiannon said. Years ago, in prophecy. A fallen king and a cursed girl, a bond that would shake kingdoms. I saw the council's poisoned future, eternal war between humans and shifters, and I saw the alternative. You two, bonded and whole, bringing back the old ways. Then why let me suffer capture? Kale demanded. Because you needed to fall, Rhiannon said simply. Both of you did. Sarah needed to learn that compassion in cruelty is strength, and you, young king, needed to remember powerlessness. You'd become the tyrant they accused you of being. Kale flinched but didn't argue. What happens next? Sarah asked. Now comes war, Rhiannon said. The council won't accept your bond. They'll fight to destroy what you represent. She paused. But I've also seen your victory, seen you standing together, remaking the world. Will you testify? Kale asked. I will, Rhiannon said, but not yet. First, you must gather strength, rally allies. And you, child, must learn to wield your gift. The old bonds didn't just share power, they shared lifespan. You'll live as long as he does. Centuries, perhaps. Sarah's head spun. Centuries. The council is gathering forces in Greymont, Rhiannon continued. They'll march on this fortress within the week. A week, Cale said flatly. He looked at his council. Call in every ally, every pack. I want every warrior here in 6 days. And the 7th day? Aldrich asked. The 7th day, we show the council what happens when you threaten a true mate bond. The next 6 days blurred together. Messengers flew out carrying Cale's call to arms. Alphas arrived daily. The fortress teemed with shifters. Sarah was caught up in preparations. A woman named Lysandra educated her in pack customs. You'll speak at the council before battle, Lysandra explained. Show the packs that their king's mate supports him. Every night, Sarah and Cale tested their bond's limits. They could separate roughly 50 yards before symptoms returned. Manageable, but binding. The night before battle, Sarah stood on a balcony, staring at the city below. You're afraid, Kyle said, joining her. Terrified, Sarah admitted. Then we prove them right to fight, Kyle said. We have truth, love, and a bond that can't be broken. Sarah leaned into him. Tomorrow would bring war. But tonight, she had this. The warmth of her mate's arms, the certainty that whatever came, they'd face it together. The 7th day dawned cold. From the battlements, Sarah watched the council's army approach. Hundreds, maybe thousands, far outnumbering Cale's forces. We're outnumbered, Aldrich said grimly. We've been outnumbered before, Cale replied. He raised his voice to the gathered warriors. They come to end the mate bond, to kill your queen, to install a puppet. But we have something they don't. Truth, loyalty, and a bond that can't be broken. He pulled Sarah forward. Look at her. Human, cursed, with every reason to run. Yet she's here, ready to heal you, ready to fight, because she believes in what we're building. Sarah's voice shook, but she forced strength into it. I don't know much about war, but I know isolation, judgment, being treated as less than human. The council wants humans and shifters separated, divided by fear. But this bond proves them wrong. We can unite, love, become stronger together. The warriors erupted in cheers. To battle, Cale commanded. For our king, our queen, and the future. The roar shook the stones. As armies mobilized, Sarah caught Mira's hand. If things go wrong, lead the evacuation. Don't talk like that, Mira whispered. I love you, Sarah said. Everything was to protect you. Then Cale was there, taking Sarah's hand. They rode out to meet the council's forces. The armies faced each other across trampled grass. In the council's center, Torvin and 3 robed figures, the surviving council members. One stepped forward. Cale Thorne, surrender and we'll spare your mate and warriors. Cale urged his horse forward, Sarah matching him. I offer you the same. Surrender. Confess your murder of my father and I'll make your deaths quick. We murdered no one, the counselor called back. Your father was the murderer. The people will decide, Sarah said. Let them see us both. Let them judge. Your abomination ends today, the counselor replied. Both armies charged. The battlefield dissolved into chaos. Sarah stayed close to Kyle, watching warriors clash. Then the first wounded warrior stumbled toward her. Sarah dismounted, catching him. I've got you. She pressed her hands to his wound. Power flared and flesh knit together. The warrior charged back into battle. More came. Broken bones, slashed arteries, punctured lungs. Sarah healed them all, her gift flowing endlessly. Then a cry. The king! They've got the king! Sarah's head snapped up. Through chaos, she saw Cale surrounded, fighting desperately. Torvin held a silver-tipped spear. No! Sarah screamed. She ran, power building. Light erupted from her hands, slamming into warriors surrounding Kyle. They flew backward. Sarah reached Kyle. Are you hurt? I am now, he said, pressing his ribs where silver had scored deep. Sarah's power flowed between them, closing wounds. The battle paused. Both armies stared at the glowing queen. "You see?" The counselor's voice rang out. "She's corrupted him." "I've seen enough," a new voice called. Rhiannon pushed through the council's ranks. "Counselors, I've watched you for 20 years. I was there when Marcus confronted the council about betrayal. I saw him offer mercy, and I saw 3 council members try to kill him with poisoned wine." "She's lying!" the counselor shrieked. "I am a seer," Rhiannon said coldly. "I've seen these 2 rebuild what we destroyed. I've seen centuries of peace." "And if we refuse?" Torvin demanded. "Then centuries of war," Rhiannon said simply. "I've seen our species driven to extinction. Choose." Silence. Then warriors from the council's army began to kneel. Dozens. Hundreds. "No!" the counselor screamed. A spear took her through the chest. She collapsed. Behind her, Torvin lowered his arm. "Enough," he said quietly. "I surrender." The remaining council members tried to run but were captured. Kyle dismounted, helping Sarah down. Together, they approached the prisoners. "You murdered my father," Kale said. "By law, you should die." "Then kill us," a counselor spat. "Make us martyrs." Sarah felt Kale's struggle through the bond. "No," she said softly. "Not death. Exile." Kale looked at her. "Send them far from here," Sarah continued. "Beyond their influence. Let them live, knowing they failed. Death would be mercy." Kale smiled. "As my queen commands." He raised his voice. "The council is banished on pain of death. Those who supported them knowingly will face trial. Those misled are pardoned. The war is over." The cheer shook the ground. 2 months later, Sarah stood in the throne room watching workers hang tapestries of mate bond history. The kingdom was healing. Communities were integrating. Progress was slow but steady. But something was wrong with her. It started small. Fatigue, sensitivity to light. Then she started losing time. Blackouts where she'd function but remember nothing. Hours, sometimes days, erased. And when blackouts came, she couldn't feel Kale through the bond, just emptiness. She'd hidden it, not wanting to worry him. But she couldn't anymore. Addressing a messenger, Sarah lost track of conversation. When she blinked back, hours had passed. She needed to tell Kale. But as she reached for the bond, she felt only void. And then darkness. Sarah woke in healing chambers 2 days later. Lysandra sat beside her. "The blackouts," Sarah whispered. "Kale nearly destroyed the palace trying to reach you," Lysandra said. "Every shifter in 100 miles felt it. The queen's scream." The door burst open. Kale stood there, haggard. "You're awake." "I'm sorry. The blackout started weeks ago." "Tell me everything," he said gently. So she did. The fatigue, the missing time, the moments when the bond went silent. "Call Rhiannon," Kale said to Lysandra. "I'm already here." The seer's voice came. She entered. "The curse is reasserting itself, child. It's adapted, learned the bond. Now it's using that connection against you." "The bond shares everything," Rhiannon explained, "including vulnerabilities. Your curse can now travel through it, infecting you both." "Then we break the bond," Kale said immediately. "No," Sarah and Rhiannon said together. "If you break it now, she dies instantly," Rhiannon said. "Her body has adapted to your strength. It can't sustain itself without the connection." "Then what do we do?" Sarah asked desperately. "There may be one option," Rhiannon said. "The curse feeds on isolation, on fear of connection. It's growing because Sarah unconsciously pulls away to protect you. Her self-sacrifice feeds its power." Sarah realized with horror it was true. Every time the bond flickered, she'd pulled back to protect Kale. "You need to stop pulling away," Rhiannon said. "Invite the curse into the bond. Let Kale share the burden." "Absolutely not," Sarah said. I won't risk him. And I won't watch you die. Kale interrupted fiercely. We share it. Together, like we promised. But if it kills you, then I die trying to save my mate. He cupped her face. I meant our vows. For better or worse. This curse is just another challenge we face together. After a moment, Sarah nodded. How? Open the bond completely, Rhiannon said. No barriers. Let him in entirely. Trust his love is strong enough to bear it. They sat facing each other, hands clasped. Lysandra and Rhiannon stood guard. Together, Sarah whispered. Together, Kale echoed. Sarah opened herself completely. Every wall fell away. Kale's presence rushed in, his love, his fear, his determination, but with it came the curse, dark and cold. She felt it touch Kale, felt him flinch, but instead of pulling away, he leaned into it. His alpha power began transforming the curse, changing it from corrosive into manageable. Where it created isolation, his power created connection. But it hurt him. Through the bond, Sarah felt his pain, bones grinding, consciousness fracturing. She tried to pull back, but his mental voice rang, "Trust me, don't pull away." So she held on, pouring her healing gift into the bond. Slowly, the curse began to shift. It didn't disappear, but it changed, softened, and became survivable. Kyle's eyes opened. Glowing amber shot through with silver threads. The curse's mark. How do you feel? Sarah asked. Different, Kyle said. The bond is clearer, and there's coldness at the edges, but manageable. We're carrying it together, Kyle said. He took her hand, bare skin to bare skin. She remained conscious, grounded by the bond stronger than ever. It worked, she breathed. Rhiannon examined them. The curse is stable. Divided, transformed into something survivable. But there will be lasting effects. The cold will be permanent for you, Kale. And Sarah, your gifts are amplified but dangerous if not controlled. You could accidentally heal someone to death. The thought made Sarah's stomach turn, but she nodded. I'll learn. There's one more thing, Lysandra said. The human territories want to meet their queen. They're sending a delegation in 1 week to decide whether they'll swear fealty. Sarah exchanged a glance with Kale. They'd fought a war, survived curse redistribution, but somehow, facing skeptical humans felt more daunting. 1 week, she said. Then we prove I'm still human where it matters. The week passed in preparation. Sarah met with refugees, toured settlements, showed people she understood their struggles. Every night she collapsed exhausted, the curse's cold presence constant. But it was manageable now, shared between her and Kale. The delegation arrived, 50 humans led by Helena Corwin, a steel-haired woman who missed nothing. We've come to determine whether a cursed, bonded human can truly represent our interests, Helena said bluntly. I understand your concerns, Sarah replied. The bond has changed me, given me powers, extended my lifespan, connected me to Kale. But at my core, I'm still the woman who grew up in a cottage outside Greymont, still the sister who cared for Mira, still the healer who couldn't watch someone suffer. Pretty words, someone called. But how do we know you'll protect human interests when you're bonded to a shifter king? Mira stepped forward. My sister has never chosen the easy path. She lived 5 years cursed and alone. Then she gave her last coins to save a stranger because it was right. The bond didn't change that. It made her stronger. Helena studied Sarah. Show us your hands. The curse marks. Sarah extended her hands, silver black lines tracing her palms. Helena took them, and through the bond's support, Sarah remained conscious despite the curse trying to drag her under. You're touching me without collapsing, Helena said softly. The curse has been changed. Shared through the bond, Sarah confirmed. Together, we've transformed it. Helena released her. touch someone else. Someone you're not bonded to. Sarah turned to Mira, who offered her hand. Sarah reached through the bond for Kale's strength, then took her sister's hand. Cold rushed through her, darkness creeping in, but Kale's power burned it away. She stayed standing, though barely. It still hurts, Sarah gasped. But as long as the bond holds, I can fight it. Helena watched carefully. You're dependent on him. We're dependent on each other, Sarah corrected. That's not weakness, that's the truth of mate bonds. We're stronger together. Helena gestured, and 2 wounded humans stepped forward. Heal them. Show us your gift serves humans as well as shifters. Sarah healed them both. Carefully, precisely, remembering Rhiannon's warning. The man's infected wound closed without scarring, the woman's broken arm knit perfectly. And you can do this for anyone? Helena asked. Anyone who needs healing, Sarah confirmed. The gift doesn't discriminate. Helena presented a problem next, a mixed settlement with disputes over hunting grounds. Sarah proposed clear boundaries, shared councils, incentives for cooperation, and consequences for those who chose hatred over progress. Helena smiled. You think like a queen. Not perfectly, but you understand difficult choices. She turned to the delegation. What say you? One by one, delegates stood until all were on their feet. We support Queen Sarah, Helena declared. We pledge loyalty to the Northern Territories and the bond that leads it. Relief flooded Sarah so intensely she swayed. Through the bond, she felt Kale's matching relief and pride. Thank you, she said. I won't let you down. Later, in a quiet alcove, Kale pulled her close. You were magnificent. I was terrified, Sarah admitted. You were both. That's what makes you great. You're afraid but do it anyway. They held each other while celebration continued beyond. Through the bond, Sarah felt the curse's cold presence, still there but manageable, shared between them. What happens now? She asked. Now we build the kingdom we promised, Kale said. We integrate communities, establish fair laws, and create something new and better. In the main hall, Rhiannon appeared, eyes blazing with prophetic light. I've seen it. I've seen the future your bond creates. Every conversation stopped. Centuries, Rhiannon said. Centuries of peace and prosperity, of humans and shifters living together, of old bonds returning. I've seen cities where children of both species play without fear. I've seen councils sharing power equally. She paused. But I've also seen challenges, resistance, conflicts, and I've seen you two at the center, your bond tested but never breaking. Do we succeed? Sarah asked. That depends on your definition of success, Rhiannon said mysteriously. You'll make mistakes, disappoint people, and regret decisions, but you'll build something worth building. Whether that's success, history will judge. Then we'll choose the future we want, Sarah said firmly. Every day, through every challenge. Rhiannon nodded approvingly. She paused at the door. The curse will never fully disappear. It will always be part of you. But that's not weakness. It's a reminder that isolation is the enemy, that connection requires work, that love must be chosen daily. After she left, Kale pulled Sarah close. Every single day. That's a lot of days for people who'll live centuries. Then it's fortunate I enjoy your company, Sarah said. Through the bond, she felt his certainty. He would choose her every day for as long as they lived, and her own certainty rose to meet his. They would face challenges, make mistakes, disappoint people. But they would do it together, bound by a connection that had transformed curse into gift, isolation into belonging, weakness into strength. They would build a kingdom worthy of the bond that led it. Starting now. Sarah took Kale's hand, feeling the bond pulse between them. Through that connection flowed everything they were, and could be. Fear and courage, vulnerability and strength, curse and gift woven into something unbreakable. Ready? Kale asked. For everything, she said, and hand in hand, the cursed queen and her alpha king walked back into their celebration, ready to face whatever came next, together.